What up, Leaguers? Welcome to the Spectacular Spoiler League. I'm the Pandan Superman, the mayor of Hype City, HazyRome, and as always, I'm joined by the God of Night, the Prime Minister of Post-Production, DeepBoyce. And today, we are in the Hall of Spoilers to rank our top 5 Marvel Cinematic Universe villains. This is everything spanning the movies, TV verse, all of it. We're ranking our top 5 favorite villains, the villains we love the most from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Anybody's up for grabs, man. Anybody's up for grabs. Anybody who's been pain in the ass to our heroes in the MCU is up for grabs, DeepBoyce.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Marvel has a bad rap for its villains, but we came together and we picked the best of the best, the ones that deserve to get some credit, despite Marvel's reputation for how it treats its antagonists. So we're definitely going to compile a nice little list for you guys out there.
Without further ado, DeepBoyce, hit him with our honorable mention to start off this list before we get into the top 5s.
Our honorable mention is a character from Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which you can watch on TV, and that's Grant Ward. Now, spoilers, Spectacular Spoiler League, you guys should get the message by this point. But if you haven't seen Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Season 1, Grant Ward is one of the main characters. He's one of the good agents, but as the season ends, or towards the end of season 1, you find out that he's actually secretly a Hydra agent, which ties in nicely with Captain America, the Winter Soldier movie. Absolutely. Which followed into an amazing season 2 for that show and made him, honestly, one of the best villains both TVs and Marvel movies have had to offer. I mean, he was just absolutely despicable because you just didn't expect it.
He was vile. He was vile. And, you know, to make the heel turn, if you will, even worse, my man was blanded in a 12-week-old biscuit before he switched up and showed us that villainous side. And he just hurt everybody. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Like, he was gunning for everybody. And then even as seasons progressed, he killed, like, Coulson's love interest. He was a vile dude, man.
He gave serious brain damage to one of the characters. I mean, the main character, he betrayed her.
Yes.
He used another character, just to kind of, I guess, sleep with.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
He was Hydra. I mean, you can't get worse than Hydra.
That's a good point. That's an absolutely fine, astute point. It doesn't get worse than Hydra. That being said, let's get into our top 5. Starting off with number 5, of course. We've got the Purple Man from Jessica Jones. I mean, this dude... shout out to David Tennant, because this dude, was a vile person. Speaking of vile, everybody in this is vile. But this guy took advantage of Jessica Jones, and for all intents and purposes, he sexually abused her.
Yes.
And David Tennant brought such gravitas to the role that you actually, in a weird way, you kind of like saw the struggle that this Purple Man character had gone through in his childhood and why he became the person he was. He was almost like a child who just, was given a ridiculous amount of power and just didn't know how to use it.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, David Tennant, that was a great casting. And like Hazy said, he was able to capture not only the sinister side of that character, but also just the side of that character that was very, almost childlike. He would throw tantrums when he wouldn't get what he wanted. And that was really the whole angle of that character, a character that could manipulate almost anyone and had absolutely no, just would manipulate anybody at any point in time at a whim.
Yeah, he had no moral compass too. That was the other
compass.
Thing.
And
no moral compass.
He reveled in it whenever he could. I mean, he sexually abused a number of women, including the main character, Jessica Jones. True. He had a character just continuously walk into a wall, like to death.
Yes.
He killed his own parents, who weren't exactly saints themselves, but he forced them to kill each other.
Right.
I mean, it was just masterfully done. It was, one of the most evil villains in movies and Marvel TV. Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's very psychological.
Yeah.
And, a lot of the times, we think of villains in comic books, we think of them punching and, stomping out our heroes. But this man, he beat you down mentally. And that was, a different take. So the Purple Man at number 5. DeepBoyce, who do we have at number 4?
We have possibly the first villain to start it all and the very first MCU movie, or the MCU movie that started it all.
Yes.
Iron Man 1. That's Obadiah Stane.
Old Obi, man. That traitorous bastard.
Obadiah Stane, played by Tron.
That was not Tron.
No, it wasn't Tron.
Clue.
It was Clue.
That was Clue.
Jeff
Close.
Bridges, who's a fantastic actor, and
Yes.
was able to translate that over into the silver screen as Obadiah Stane in Iron Man 1. A character who was a lot more charming than you would want that character to be. Because, again, It's Jeff Bridges. I mean, who doesn't like Jeff Bridges? And he was able to translate that into silver screen, but also, you know, just extremely manipulative and kind of waiting and hiding in you know, behind the scenes as the master, kind of pulling the strings, who tried to bring the demise of not only Tony Stark, but I guess his company, or get the company in his own hands. And also he was able to get into, you know, the Monger suit, or the original Iron Man suit, and give Iron Man a pretty dope fight scene at the end of the movie.
Yeah, he took the original Iron Man suit, he modded it, made it, you know, crazy, beastly, and super diabolical. I mean, the greatest thing about Obadiah Stane is that when the movie started, you got the impression that he loved Tony Stark. You know, he worked closely with Tony's dad. He, you know, was essentially running the company, and you know, and before Tony was old enough to take over. And you got the impression that these dudes were family, that they loved each other. And then you find out that he orchestrated this whole chain of events to get Tony Stark kidnapped by the 12 Rings terrorist organization, and essentially resulted in Tony Stark almost dying and having the arc reactor, you know, put in his chest in the first place. Yeah. And, you know, Obadiah Stane just brought it. Jeff Bridges, you know, he brought that you know, that kind of like that creepiness. When you realize that he was villain, you know, the villain of the movie, he kind of brought this creepiness. Like, I remember he's talking to Pepper Potts. He's like, "Oh, Tony's lucky to have you," and you could just see like Pepper just like feeling so awkward around him. And I just love the presence of Jeff Bridges and Obadiah Stane. He was so dope. He inspired Marvel's obsession with having white collar businessmen as villains. I mean, another person on this list is a white collar villain. But we're talking about, I mean, we got Yellow Jacket from Ant-Man. We got Justin Hammer. I mean, they love their suits that are villains. Yeah.
And one of the things that I thought was great about the dynamic between Obadiah Stane and Tony Stark is that, I mean, you as a viewer, you know what's really going on behind the scenes. You know that you should be cheering for Tony Stark. But within that world, Tony Stark is not seen very well. And Obadiah Stane seems like a person that has a clean slate, even though he's extremely sinister and manipulative behind the scenes. And I thought that was a great dynamic that they had in that first movie.
Well said, man. Number three. Speaking of villains that are suits, we've got the opposite of a villain. Of a villain who you know, isn't a suit. You know, he's someone who is a blue collared guy, and we've got the Vulture from Spider-Man: Homecoming. This man, played by the wonderful, the Batman himself, Michael Keaton. The Vulture was a different kind of villain. He was someone who had a family and was just doing what he felt was necessary in order to survive. You know, when you know, men like Tony Stark and Damage Control, you know, came and took his right to clean up after the Battle of New York. You know, from the original Avengers movie. I mean, the guy felt like he was stepped on by the big man. You know what I mean? By the man. And, you know, the Vulture being the little guy just trying to get a piece of the pie. It was a great spin. Also, the fact that, like, I mean, that twist where, you know, once again, spoiler alert, y'all, spectacular spoiler alert, where he turned out to be, you know, Liz's dad. I was like, what? Like, that was that was a complete shock to me. That, you know, when Peter Parker showed up at Liz's house to pick her up for the homecoming dance, and the Vulture opens the door, and then seeing you know, Adrian Toomes slowly put the pieces together as to who Peter Parker was, you know, him being Spider-Man, you know, and this guy that's dating his daughter. I just loved how he slowly started to turn up the aggressive factor, you know, where he's asking him questions about his personal life. Then he's like, hey, hey Liz, you know, you go on ahead, let me speak to this guy alone. And he just turns to him, he's like, yo, I will kill you and I will take everything that you love away from you. And I just, he was cerebral. And I just love the fact that, Michael Keaton managed to make you feel where this guy was coming from.
Yeah. No, totally agree. I mean, it was a phenomenal just performance by Michael Keaton. And it was, I guess, great writing and a great plot that they had for this movie. And he broke one of Marvel's other very well-known traditions. He didn't, spoilers, he did not die at the end of Spider-Man Homecoming. Yes. So that is also, and not only that, but in the, I think it was a mid-credits sequence, they implied that he will return in very interesting capacity, because he was already very interesting in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Sure. So, and he's keeping Peter Parker's secret. That's the end. That's part of it.
So that is extremely compelling, because who knows why he's doing that exactly, for his own nefarious gains, or is he having a change of heart? I mean, either way, it could be extremely interesting and extremely cool. And just like Hazy said, just having a villain that was so close to home, so to speak, was just fun to really watch in the movie. And obviously a lot of these other villains had a very close relationship to their respective heroes, but in this movie they really hammered that home, and you really kind of felt that with the Vulture. And Spider-Man, being as young as he is and being in the situation that he is, you felt, sort of that claustrophobia. Like, what is he going to say? He can't reveal that he's Spider-Man, and he can't just go. Who is he going to go to? He has to handle this himself as a 15 or 16-year-old kid. I mean, it was just great writing, and a great performance by Michael Keaton.
I mean, I'm sure me and you can relate to this voice. I'm sure we both met the parents of girls we were dating.
Yeah.
But for us, we didn't have to do with like money laundering, some mass murdering. Well, he wasn't a mass murderer, but some weapons dealer, this illegal weapons dealer who just also happens to be fighting our superhero alter egos. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, we didn't have to do with that. Peter Parker had to do with that. That is a great a play on the whole meeting your girlfriend's dad shtick. You know what I mean? I think that was pretty dope. But anyway, number 2, DeepBoyce, who we got?
We got your boy from Daredevils seasons 1 and 2. Yes. Not Daredevils, but Daredevil. You know exactly what I'm saying. The Netflix series.
Yes.
Wilson Fisk.
Wilson Fisk.
Played by Vincent D'onofrio. Not Wilson Fisk from the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie.
Michael Clark Duncan was not bad, man. Come on, man. That's not his fault.
He wasn't, but I mean, this is a very great upgrade, and our number 2 entrant in the list.
Yes,
because again, you allow this character who is an iconic character, at least for us growing up watching Spider-Man the animated series. We were very familiar with the Kingpin. And how much of a pain in the ass he is for a lot of superheroes. He just has a lot of money. And not only that, he has a lot of influence within New York. The very, very corrupt New York. He could pay his way out of almost any type of situation. And you definitely saw that play out in season 1 and seasons 2. And he's probably going to make a return in season 3 of Daredevil.
And definitely alluding to that. After Defenders. Sure.
And this is a man who has serious anger issues, and this is the most pissed off he's ever been coming into season 3. But I mean, the guy killing reporters, killing henchmen, politicians.
He sat on Ben Urich, man. How you kill someone by sitting on him, man? He killed him. He killed him, sat on him, killed him, man.
Sat on his chest.
Killed him, man. Killed my man Ben. And then, even when he was introduced, like early on in the season, he got mad at this guy and slammed his head in a door and turned his head into mush. Mm-hmm. Like, you saw the it wasn't blood leaking onto the ground. It was clearly like a thick, like meaty substance. Mm-hmm. Okay. Like, the minute they show Wilson Fisk, he is intimidating. He is, he's reserved, yet he can snap, on a moment's notice. Mm-hmm. The childlike, the innocence he seemed to portray with dealing with Vanessa, or he seemed to exude dealing with Vanessa, finding this person that he loves so much, and, someone who he could share his world with, just that childlike innocence he showed when he seriously didn't know how to win this woman's heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we also seeing his origins and then how he developed such a mean streak. Having it be a result of his father's physical and verbal abuse. I mean, Wilson Fisk was super well done in Daredevil, and he always felt like a threat.
Always.
He always felt like a threat, and he's incredibly smart.
Yeah.
Incredibly smart. He's out there running the prison that he's in season 2. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
And he's manipulating both the Punisher and even Punisher, Daredevil, and Matt Murdock, to his advantage, to his gain. And then before that, the Owl, who wasn't exactly Owl, but it was the same character.
Yes.
And Madame Gao, who I mean, this lady is like a Sith or something. She got some Jedi Force powers out there. She definitely has some like abnormal Sith powers going. She was definitely using the Force in the Defenders, man. But it is a crime. Listen, Marvel, it is a crime that Vincent D'onofrio is not, in the movies at this point and not able to interact with a character like Spider-Man. Make that happen. Please. Make it happen. DeepBoyce, bring us to numero uno. Number 1. Who's the main man? Who's our top villain? Number 1. It is the half-brother of Thor Odinson. It is the trickster god himself, Loki.
He earned this.
He earned
this number 1 spot.
I mean, this is almost an obvious one because he's so popular. But, I mean, Tom Hiddleston has done a fantastic job as Loki. And in whichever movie he's in, he's one of the better parts of that movie.
Yeah.
Just absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. Again, taking a character that is silly and looks even sillier and being able to translate him into the silver screen to make him just a multifaceted character. A character that is both likable, that you can both hate, that is annoying, that is silly, that is a threat. I mean, the guy he's a 5-tool player. This guy can literally fill any type of role.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he is responsible. I mean, him being the primary villain of the Avengers and him, bringing that onslaught to Earth. I mean, Avengers Infinity War might bring some of this, some of the pain to Earth and, bring some damage to Earth. But when you look back on it, I mean, Loki probably did the most damage of any villain thus far in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, he brought a whole alien invasion, and that invasion had repercussions throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Loki also had the benefit of, being in multiple movies, and as you said before about another villain, not dying. And as you see, it turned out that he was, one of the coolest. I mean, he manipulated Thor and somehow managed to take over Asgard by the end of the Dark World. Yeah. I mean, in the first movie, we saw Tom Hiddleston's emotional range by showing, Loki finding out about, his heritage, that he's the son of a frost giant king, and just seeing his reaction to Odin, the love that he seems to have for Thor, simultaneously with the hatred and jealousy that he has for Thor. I mean, it is, like you said, man, 5-tool player. This guy he's so multifaceted. And, some people, I've heard people kind of, say things about Loki, like, he's not really that villainous person, things like, him being more of a anti-hero, so to speak, and which is to me is silly. Like, I can't process that. Yeah. This man is responsible for many deaths, man. He brought a huge army of aliens to New York City. Our city! The Spectacular Spoiler League city! Okay? We wouldn't be here making these videos for you if it wasn't for the Avengers. Yeah. So shout outs to Loki, number 1 villain from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That being said, we're getting out of the hole of spoilers. Let us know what you think about our list of top 5 Marvel Cinematic Universe villains. Let us know who your top 5 villains are. And by all means, the Spectacular Spoiler League needs your support. Hit that subscribe button. Join up with the Spectacular Spoiler League. Click that like button if you like anything you heard. And if you subscribe, feel free to hit the notifications so you can get everything that is the latest and greatest from the Spectacular Spoiler League. Me and DeepBoyce, we getting out of here. We're going to go hunt down Wilson Fisk with Daredevil, man, so we can get his autograph. We out of here.